Hello, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning into Roanoke Public Libraries. And we are here with Feeding Southwest Virginia Community Solutions Center. And we're here specifically with Chris Hamm, who is the chef here at Feeding Southwest Virginia Community Solutions Center. How are you, Chris?
Doing great.
Awesome. So can you take a moment and share with us what you are making today? I know it's a staple in a lot of families' kitchens and dining room tables on Thanksgiving. So can you go ahead and share with us?
Okay, today we're going to be doing a sweet potato pie. You can make it a whole lot of stuff, different ways, use different ingredients, but today we're going to just be doing the basic setup. And the key is to having a really good recipe. Usually if you do a Google search, or you have your own family recipe, just make sure that you follow the recipe to the T. That's the key to coming out with a successful outcome. So today we're going to be just giving you a fast-paced method how to do it. With cooking pies or any type of pastry or anything like that, you have to make sure that you have all your ingredients, that you have everything already prepared, ready the way the recipe calls for it to be. So in this case, I already have my pie shell already docked. And this helps with the baking so you don't have any lumps or breaks in the bottom of your shell. That's really important with getting pie situated from the jump start. The next, usually when you get to your mixer, it's always going to be like a creaming process. That's going to include the butter, whatever type of sweet potatoes you use. In this case, I used raw sweet potatoes, which I just baked in the oven and peeled.
That sounds amazing.
Just put, I got out the right amount. And of course, you want to make sure that your butter is room temperature. And first off, you'll cream those two together to get it nice and smooth. Then you add your sugar next, and your milk and your eggs. And you just get that mixed as thoroughly as you can. Then you add all your spices next, which would be the cinnamon, the vanilla extract, and some nutmeg. You mix that all together, and you come up with a smooth consistency in your pie shell. You want to make sure that it has no lumps. And then next, you would just pretty much just extract it. I just mixed up, kind of see what it looks like. This recipe is more like a souffle type pie, so it's not as runny as it would be if you got like a store-bought canned sweet potato pie or pumpkin pie mix. So it's going to look a little different. And next, you want to make sure that you get it nice in your pie shell where it's even. And you also want to make sure that you have your oven preset to the proper temperature that the recipe calls for. In this case, we have a commercial grade oven, so we have it set up like 325, but most recipes probably call for it to be probably around 400 for a certain amount of time, and then to reduce the temperature down like midway so that your custard and everything will burn. The goal is just try to smooth everything around.
So you said you use like straight up sweet potatoes, like you didn't get the can, you didn't. What is the difference in taste, do you think?
I think you're gonna get, you won't get that preservative taste that you would get out of a can. Mm-hmm. Anything out of a can, you're always gonna have that preservative taste. Sweet potatoes straight out, it's better if you got organic. But if you just get some basic sweet potatoes and cook them properly, make sure that they're fully cooked. And they're pliable so you can get a smooth consistency. That's really all that really matters.
Okay.
And then next, you just get all the air bubbles out. Then you just go ahead and put it in the oven. In this case, you already have one fresh ready out the oven.
Miraculous. Look how fast that was made. So wonderful. Looks good.
When it comes out, you want to make sure that you sit it on some type of cooling rack. Let it rest until it's time to cut. In the meantime, you can, if you want to make you some fresh whipped cream, get you some heavy whipping cream. Make sure you have a real nice heavy duty menu. Just mixer, and then make sure that you whip it well. You know, you can season it however you like. If you want it just plain, or you want to do it with, want to spice it up, add a little bit of cinnamon to your whipped cream, and everybody's gonna be happy when it comes to Thanksgiving dinner. You'll be a champion at the table.
That sounds amazing. And so can you tell us one more time, just the ingredients, if you can just kind of list each one off, just the ingredients so people can kind of know, like, okay, I can buy this, and you know, and how much of each thing, and all that.
Well, this particular recipe calls for like a pound of sweet potatoes. So that's roughly probably about 3 sweet potatoes, pretty nice size ones.
So 3 sweet potatoes, okay.
Then you're gonna get a half a cup of butter.
Okay.
And make sure that it's room temperature. 1 cup of white sugar. Then you got a half cup of milk, 2 eggs, a half a teaspoon of ground nutmeg, a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Awesome.
Of course, your pie shells. So, you know, if you want to get fancy, you can make your own pie shells, you know, if you're really good at baking, but otherwise, store-bought, there's nothing wrong with it. It still comes out with the same flaky, you know, crust on it, and I think everybody will be pleased.
Awesome. And let me ask you 2 more questions. One of them is brown sugar versus white sugar. What are your thoughts?
You just have to be really careful. There's nothing wrong if you blended them.
Or if
you
you,
don't,
okay.
you don't want to go too far to the point where it makes, you know, sweet potato pie is more savory
Okay.
than sweet, and then of course brown sugar has molasses in it, so you don't want it.
Yep.
It might possibly burn, you know, if you put a little bit too much. So usually that's why they use white sugar to counterbalance that.
Makes
so
sense.
You know, in the caramelization process, because as you can see, it already with white sugar has a nice golden little crust on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you add molasses mixed in with the brown, you know, that the brown sugar has, it possibly would look darker, and you don't want it. You don't want your pie to look ugly when you present it.
Right.
When you present it, they be like, "Who made this pie?" So, you know, best bet is to follow the recipe. I mean, you can play around with it if you got time, but you know, if you definitely want a short shot, just go with what the recipe calls for. Unless you find a recipe that already has it already doctored up to the point where you're not going to have a failed recipe.
That makes perfect sense. And then my other question is for the gluten-free people out there. How to make this gluten-free? Like, what, I mean, I guess the biggest thing would be the crust.
Yeah.
So what would you have any suggestions on the crust? Do you?
I'm pretty sure you can find one, you know, at a gourmet shopping center, somewhere like, you know, maybe Fresh Market. They may have some gluten-free pie crust that'll definitely, you know, be able to make that substitution. Then everything else, you would just have to be really critical on making sure you read the label to make sure you're getting what you need. But I figure if you went to Fresh Market, they can lead you in the right direction to get the gluten-free ingredients to be able to make that substitute on any recipe. So
Okay, and I actually just thought of one last question, and I promise it's the last question. As far as for the vegans out there, do you suggest an alternative milk? Do you suggest, like, you know, would almond milk work, would coconut milk work, would oat milk work, you know? And as far as eggs, is there something else they can replace the eggs with, to, you know, as a holder?
I mean, that's a real tricky one with the eggs. That'd be really hard to find something to substitute for that to make it properly rise right, because you know, even though the egg is a binder, it also is a leavener, so it helps the pie rise up because it doesn't have any like baking powder or baking soda in it to help with that process. So if you could figure out a way that could happen, which I don't know of a way other than eggs, I'm pretty sure there may be a way to be able to substitute that out. I just have never seen a recipe like that.
Makes sense. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll look into that ourselves as well, as libraries, and we can figure out, maybe next time we figure out the way to do a recipe, even that it can, you know, can be done for, you know, those who are vegan or those who are gluten-free. We can maybe make one, you know, and we can come back and try to and share it with everyone. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, though, and that is making a sweet potato pie with with Feeding Southwest Virginia Community Solutions Center and Chef Chris Hamm, who is the chef here at the Community Solutions Center. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much, everyone, and have a fantastic day.